Hey guys, Warble here, back with another video podcast. This will be more than likely be a two-parter video podcast because I'm going to cover two different things, two topics that require a huge amount of time, I believe, and both of them in the area of politics. One of them is in regards to the 2020 election, obviously. And the other topic will be in regards to what the current president Donald Trump said over the weekend, the reactions to it, not just locally but worldwide, and etc. 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 I think for this video, we'll just focus on that second topic and go from there, and then do my analysis on the election. So the 2020 campaign so far in the other video, in a separate video entirely, because for both of those, if I were to try to cover both of those in this one video, this would probably go on for 30 plus minutes, and I'd like to give both of those their own time slots. With both videos, I definitely wanted to make sure that I did this through video instead of doing it on my political blog, because there's a time and place for everything, and I feel like for a lot of things that I'm going to go over in regards to both of these very interesting topics, I just thought would just be a bit more appropriate to do it through a video blog than to do it through text on my WordPress blog, as I normally do things. So to get started, I'm going to repeat something that I originally said back in 2016 on my blog, and then said again the following year at some point, also on one of my WordPress blogs. And that is that I do not believe that Donald Trump is a racist. Despite what he said on Sunday, I still believe that. I know that sounds insane, and the clear indications of otherwise are pretty much indisputable, but here's my reasoning for why I continue to maintain the position that Donald Trump is not a racist. The main reason for that, first and foremost, is he's an egomaniac, and when we take that into consideration, given his very checkered history before he got into politics, his history in business, the fact that he's known as a con man in the business world, the fact that a huge chunk of people that used to work for him are either in jail or facing trial in recent years, the fact that a lot of the people that were a part of his cabinet when his term started have either resigned or been fired by him, and even the fact that, and I covered this a lot a few months ago, the fact that his former favorite attorney sang like a canary in front of Congress earlier this year should tell you a lot. And I can definitely say, when you factor all those things into consideration, when you factor all those things into a lot of the vitriol that he said since taking office, it goes without saying that Donald Trump doesn't differentiate between Donald Trump the person and Donald Trump President of the United States. That should be pretty obvious by now. And there is clearly, it's not just a fact that it's not just I would say it's less a lack of awareness, it's just the fact that he doesn't care about the fact that when he speaks, he's not just speaking for himself, but he's speaking as the President of the United States. And that's the main thing that has a lot of people, way more people than he thinks in this country, as well as around the world, absolutely do not like him. And I can definitely say, factoring all those other things, it's impossible for me to definitively call Donald Trump a racist. Yes, I know a lot of the things that he said about people of color. I know a lot about the things that he said about people that are not people that look basically a lot of the things that he said are things that white nationalists and many other and a lot of hate groups and et cetera, resonate with and are clinging onto and cheering for. I'm well aware of all that, and I'm pretty sure that he does at this point too. But in his particular case, he's just an egomaniac at the end of the day. And for him, it's definitely not a question of race and all that kind of stuff. And despite the fact that over the last few years, there's been pictures of his cabinet being less and less diverse compared to the last few administrations that have come before him, and especially all things considered, a lot of other things that have gone on. I still maintain the position, and I'm looking straight in the camera as I say this, I still maintain the position that Donald Trump is not a racist. I mean, there's just too much. There is just not enough. I'm looking for certain things to be able to call him a racist, and I'm not seeing them in him yet. For me to definitively say yes, he is a racist. You also have to be. You have to also have to be mindful of the fact that he can't possibly be anti-immigrant because, number one, his wife wasn't born in this country, as corporate media has been saying for the last 2 days now. Number two, he used his position as president to help his in-laws become U.S. citizens. Number three, it's well known that he employs illegals at many of his resorts, and yeah. Even if you have, even if there's just not enough evidence for my, well, I should say current life, but you know what I mean. Anyway, there just isn't enough evidence for me to definitively say that Donald Trump is a racist. It just isn't there. Do I agree with any of the things he said? Absolutely not. Of course not. But at the same time, I am well aware, as do many of the talking heads out there that are not on Fox News, or Rush Limbaugh, or Ann Coulter, or Alex Jones, etc., who know what it is. And I just commented on this to someone on Facebook a little while ago that the reason that you're not hearing a lot of people in the Republican Party speak out is because, to put it simply, they made a deal with the devil when they decided to push for Donald Trump to get not just a Republican nomination, but also win the White House, because they knew, unlike many of the other people that were running at the time, with Donald Trump, even if they couldn't control him, he would rubber stamp a lot of the things, pretty much what they would give them whatever they wanted, pretty much, and they got a crap ton of other things that they wanted. They cut safety nets, blank checks to the military, immigration, the stuff, the immigration controversy, all that other stuff. They got that with him as president. They wouldn't have got that with any other Republican candidate so quickly, at the very least. And the fact that the Democrats took back the House of Representatives last year, for them was a signal for them to know that playtime is over, and the time is coming. The time has come for them to pay the price that they knew that they were going to have to pay for what we are dealing with right now. And yeah, I mean, it really is interesting, and also it really is interesting, and it also I also feel at the same time that my decision to leave the Democratic Party myself 3 years ago was the right decision to make. And other folks have come up and have said this in comments, both online and in person, that the time has definitely come for both parties to be disbanded, but definitely the Republican Party needs to be disbanded first. And hopefully that happens after the 2020 election, regardless of the outcome. Because as much as people like to talk about partisan politics and all that other crap in America, I can definitely say we cannot have a repeat. This country will not survive a repeat of what we had from 2016 well, not even 2016, going back even further, a bit further than that, from 2012 to 2018, where you had, well, back in 2012, that was 2012, 2014, I should say, around 20, yeah, no wait, going back a bit, 2010, 2012, and 2014. The Republicans took back both houses of Congress by going into the 2016 presidential election, and then they stalled in 2016 long enough for Trump or whoever would have gotten the nomination if it wasn't him to appoint the next Supreme Court justice, so that they could have so they could secure a 5-4 advantage in the Supreme Court for everything that they wanted to do. And the fact of the matter is, that shouldn't have been allowed to happen, first and foremost. And that speaks to all the more need that both political parties should be disbanded as soon as possible, because both those parties are tearing this country apart. What we saw happen from 2016 until the 2018 midterms, the Republican Party pretty much, I wouldn't say dragged this country back to places that they shouldn't have gone, but they've done much worse in some regards. But I'd say definitely in general, and I'll speak to this more in the other video after this. Losing my train of thought a bit. My other video after this about the election process, but definitely, I would definitely say more so this time than in 2014, in 2004. I would say definitely. The Republicans know that they're going to put that the price that they're going to have to pay from this is going to be a very steep one, and I hope they are prepared for the very real likelihood that their party will be broken up, because the memories of the people are much longer than they can imagine. The memories of a lot of people that had to live through this. It's not like it happened in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. You know. The people that I think allow them to forget this, just like they like to make us remember 9/11 every year. But anyway, that's a whole other topic that I'll get into in one of my political blogs. But getting back to the main subject, I feel like I got a bit off track for the last 5.5 minutes. But I am definitely feeling pretty confident in saying that Donald Trump will be a one-term president. I'll get into the details and why I feel that way in my follow-up in my video on the election itself, but the four-pack squad, as they're calling themselves, from the press conference they had yesterday, or I should say on Monday, there are more people that oppose the current administration, their ideologies, their policies, or rather their lack thereof, than Trump is even aware of. I do legitimately think that Trump has no idea how outnumbered he is right now on a national stage. All he really has are I would say all he really has are the people that he's paying at this point. And there's not even a lot of them. A lot of people that worship the ground that he walks on for some reason. I would definitely say that these last 4 years, a really good thing. I know it's going to surprise a lot of people, but it forced this country to look at a lot of things that it has been ignoring up to now for decades and centuries. We are now. I also feel like, and I have no problem admitting this, a lot of folks that had to live through the American apartheid, aka Jim Crow, are probably feeling, assuming that those that are still alive anyway, are probably feeling very vindicated now, because during the 80s, 90s, and the 2000s, and even up to 2016, you know, they felt like that they were being, they felt like the generations that came after them couldn't possibly have understood what they had to go through in order for those that came after them to have what they have. And unfortunately, I'm pretty sure they're sticking their head salad, thinking, unfortunately, now we do. And you can be sure that what the Republicans call socialism and all that other nonsense. There's gonna be some things that are gonna change eventually. I don't know about sooner or later, but eventually this country's gonna change. Things are gonna obviously get worse before they get better eventually, but I'm pretty sure, like I said before, Trump will be a one-term president. And I'll speak more on that under the specifics on why I feel that way in my video on the 2020 election. I have to keep remembering to say that because it's very hard to resist. And I knew there was going to be some crossover, but meh. I mean, most definitely. I also mentioned this in my political blog, but Nancy Pelosi proved at the beginning of this year to her own party that she can handle Donald Trump head on, no problem. And I'm pretty sure at this point that even CNN has caught on to the game that Trump likes to play when he can't win in policy, either locally or internationally. He goes for personal attacks. That's what it is. That's because he has no real argument. And well, the same could easily be said for the Republicans. Usually they're not stupid enough to go this route that Trump has repeatedly gone over and over again since well before he was sworn into office. A lot of people forget. I'm pretty sure. Well, actually, the media has a long memory, but a lot of people may not remember that Trump was the one that started the whole Obama wasn't born a U.S. citizen nonsense from way back when. And it really is a cruel irony at the same time. But as the saying goes, this too shall pass eventually. And I did say in another video I recorded for this one the other day that I am planning to working on finally getting my passport. I definitely want to make sure that, like I was thinking in 2004, right before Bush actually was elected for the first time. I want to make sure that, I'm actually able to leave this country of my own free will, because I do feel like it might be better. It definitely would be good for me as a person of color to get a passport as soon as I can before it suddenly becomes harder for me to do that. And something that I definitely have been getting sick and tired of since 2000 is the whole back and forth thing with the political parties. I am under no illusion that the status quo will continue for a while longer, at the very least. And I'm 35 years old now, and I feel like at this point, I might as well go to another country where I'll be able to put my skills to use and not have to deal with a lot of this nonsense. There will be a lot of, depending on where I go, I will have to deal with not having access to certain things, but that's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make. Because at the end of the day, you can't put a price on peace of mind. And there's way too much uncertainty in this country for me to feel comfortable living in America for the rest of my life. And as soon as I have the means, I'm definitely going to resettle in another country. I mean, obviously, most of my family still here, so I would definitely visit on occasion. But that'll probably be the most of it at this point. I just feel like after this, from a political point of view, I'm just pretty much spent. And I definitely have to get myself together, financially, personally, emotionally, and physically, for how the 2020 election may happen, and plan accordingly from there. So let's see. I can definitely say for sure, and I forgot to mention this at some point because that's so much I had to get through, and more to cover in the next video on the election itself. But I do think that Donald Trump will be impeached, or at the very least, try to deal with an impeachment vote, either regardless of whether he wins the election or not next year, which I seriously doubt at this point. So the next 15 or so months should be very interesting. Look forward to my next podcast, and take care, everybody.